I know you guys have covered the holy hell out of all of the football this weekend, but the one thing, the only commentary that I wanted to make after just seeing the general menace of Trent Williams, who some people argue is the best player in football because of how dominant he is, I simply want to remind people who are watching him fight in frustration that that's a man who in a Honolulu bar fight was tasered and had a champagne bottle broken over his head and didn't go down. Tasered.
Trent Williams looks at a taser and laughs at it. He does.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Does Trent Williams look at a taser and laugh at it? I want to get to a handful of things here. One of them, I don't understand why people are so eager to believe silly and dumb things. I really do want to explore this with you guys because Arian Foster is on a show called Macrodosing that he's doing with PFT, a guy who's playing the Stugotz character. And he is talking about how the NFL is scripted and rigged. Week 2, somebody has to have a hamstring injury, that it's all like a soap opera. And people are really eager to believe it because Arian Foster is saying it. And Arian Foster loves to bleep with people. And I want to ask you guys, before we go any further in the show, why is it that we are in an age where more and more people want to just believe the dumbest things, are actively looking to believe the worst in people, the worst in things? Damar Hamlin, it's a fake, it's a body double. Why? Why is that happening?
Conspiracy theories are intoxicating. They are. That people like to believe that our understanding is not what's in front of you. That it can't just be as simple as life in front of you is what's real. No, there's a deeper meaning. And people like to present themselves as knowers of things beyond what's in front of you. It's mysterious. It's interesting. It's dumb, but it's interesting.
Dan, you tell us. You're the one who gets got by Ballsack Sports like once a month.
It isn't this, though. I get caught by things that are plausible. I get caught with things that are believable.
It is plausible that someone gets a hamstring injury every year in the NFL week 2. It is. Look it up. It might happen. I have no idea.
No, that it's not, that it's scripted, that the NFL is a soap opera script.
Yep.
Everyone stop. Dan said he gets got by things that are plausible, like a shark swimming down a freeway.
That's been happening more and more lately.
The body double thing is just hilarious to me. Yeah, the body double is out there on a cover 2 over here covering somebody. That's just hilarious to me.
What fun is the truth, Dan? The
thing that I'm asking you guys, I know there's always been conspiracy theorists, but is it because everyone now has a public opinion that I have to believe at every turn that that nothing is what it seems?
That is part of it. Everyone's got a podcast, including me. Somehow I have 5. I don't know why anyone listens to them, but there was a line from the last episode of The Last of Us where Nick Offerman says, the government are all Nazis, and Murray Bartlett says, well, they are now, but they weren't then. And it's really funny because Nick Offerman's character, he's like a doomsday prepper. Survivalist. So he was ready for the zombie apocalypse.
Ready.
That's not a spoiler. That's not a spoiler. And so I think, Dan, my point is, I guess there are small conspiracies and some large conspiracies that have been true over the years that we've found out about years later, and it's hard to believe sometimes that those things can happen. But whatever the conspiracy du jour is far-fetched and outlandish for people, I think, because there have been government conspiracy theories. Of course, the government has experimented on people, but that doesn't mean that the government's doing it right now, this time. And I think that there's so much misinformation bombarded at people that is passed off as credible information that it is very hard to discern what is real and what is not real.
But Arian Foster saying on a show called Macrodosing with someone who's playing a character that is meant to spoof the sports fan who is a dope, that one should be a pretty. If people want to believe the NFL is rigged, that's the only way you arrive at believing that Arian Foster got a script that in week 3 of the NFL you're going to have a hamstring injury.
Well, think about it this way. Do you think there has never been a moment in which the NFL, in its entire 100-year history, hasn't had a hand in something happening? Because if you can believe that, like a small thing, like the NFL really wanted this team to play in the 1938 championship game, and they made it happen. If you can believe like that small kernel happened, why can't you believe that that's still happening now? And that's, I think, where people get tripped up, that like this happened then, this is still happening now. There is a vast underground network of people conspiring to make things happen a certain way. And if you can't believe that, then like you're just not paying attention. Your third eye's not open.
People thought that Ron Torbert asking for 39 to be replayed was some grand conspiracy.
I was one of them.
There were credible football journalists who were tweeting out, rigged! And it's like, guys, they just got the clock wrong.
Right.
Like, it doesn't mean...
You've never seen that in the history of the NFL. 2 teams completing an entire play, both with max effort.
I'm sure it's
and then the
happened.
ref says, hey, you know what?
That's
Let's do it again. Nah, I've never seen it.
Do you guys know how direct mail works? Like the spam mail, physical mail that you get in your mailbox?
No.
Presumably
if
it
I
might-
did, I would cancel that shit because it's annoying.
So the whole thing is they send out all this stuff with the hopes of, I believe, a 2% conversion rate. That 2% is enough to justify all the mountains that end up in the recycle bin, in the trash or whatever. Why conspiracies, Dan, take hold is because of what Jess said. The handful of times there actually was a conspiracy. It wasn't a theory. It actually happened. Creates the aura of validation for everything. And that's just...
There's a chance.
Exactly. Because people will always point to the one that did happen, right? And people want to be able to explain things that are happening to them that can't possibly just be, I'm shit out of luck. Example, Tim Donaghy. Wild, I don't even feel scared to say this. He is a habitual liar. He is a pathological liar. But he says something that every fan wants to believe, which is, my team didn't lose because we weren't good enough. No, my team lost because of a grand conspiracy. My favorite one that's happening right now is this belief Laker fans have that the NBA doesn't want LeBron or the Lakers in the playoffs. Let's think about this for a second. You're telling me Adam Silver is like, you know what I wouldn't want? I wouldn't want the L.A. Lakers with the greatest player of all time who's about to pass a record to make the playoffs.
Several records.
Yeah.
Both top 5 in scoring and assists in the same week.
Yeah, no, we don't want that money. Please give me more Sacramento Kings.
I think there's like fewer and fewer trustworthy sources now for people, right? Because you can pick and choose who you believe in and who you trust. And if everyone has information being streamlined to them with varying degrees of credibility, you get to decide what's credible.
But even the credible people are part of this. They've got the infection too because of streamlining, because of speed. We're lazier when it comes to vetting information. So you've got credible people like Chris just pointed out, like people cover this game for a living, saying dumb shit like that because it's easy and it's there. And if we say, well, so I'll give you another great example from the world of basketball. Saturday, this Reddit post goes viral about this guy who noticed that Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Grizzlies has almost twice as many blocks and steals at home as he does on the road. And that number is true. And the guy surmised that there's some home cooking happening, that he's getting inflated stats at home, and he's not really getting these stats for real. So I sat there and I watched every block and every steal at home that Jaren Jackson had. So did Tom. And at the end of it, I concluded this guy is one of the greatest shot blockers ever. He's like, it's not only were they almost exclusively all legit, it's also like, wow, this guy's really good. So I reveal this to people, like, yeah, just watch them all. There's nothing untoward happening. And people got upset. They're like, oh, so we're just going to take your word for it that you watch it. Like,
You
yes.
work for Sirius XM NBA radio. You're in on it.
It's just like, it's insane. It's like, wait, so I'm not saying you got to take my word for it, but You gotta go watch them yourself. If you're gonna say, I'm lying, you can't say, nah, it's just easier for me to sit back and think it's a lie.
Is that on Basketball Illuminati? Is that why you did that? I don't think you did that for fun, did you?
Saturday, I took time away from my kids.
Quite a few people did this. I saw Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer said that a lot of people, because this Reddit post had captured the attention of the NBA internet, because NBA.com/stats has video of every play and every box score. So you go to Jaren Jackson's NBA page and you can click the blocks number and it gives you video of every single one of them. So it's easily available.
It's easily available, but nobody wants to do the work. Nobody wanted to actually do it, and if someone did do the work, they're like, well, I don't believe you. Imagine where you are. That is the very definition, Dan, of I want to believe. Don't tell me facts that contradict what I want to believe. I just want to believe.
It's what I would do.
It's what my father did in every argument we'd ever have. It was so hard to argue against him as a child because it would always end with him saying, I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm. That's how you do it.
I'm not so certain. Another classic line in this genre.
Yeah.
Tony, I wanted to bring you in here because Chris Whittingham described you as staggeringly defensive. And you, very frustratedly, you yelled at us, I don't get to make any points, and when I make points, I get dunked on. And
welcome to the party,
Chris
pal.
Whittingham, Chris Whittingham, of all people, okay, when I came into you earlier today, and I said what I said wasn't a spoiler, I got straight up to the line, I sprinted towards the line, but I stopped on a dime right before saying what was the spoiler, right?
You do suicide sprints with the spoilers.
It makes people very nervous about those things. So I like to do it to get people very nervous. So as I say that to you, Chris Whittingham from the Shipping Container says, you're always defensive, you're extremely defensive, everything you say is defensive. And I'm like, well, Chris, it's easy for you to say when everything that I say here is essentially just somebody else turns on my own mic. It's very difficult for me to say things, right? And he gets to say other points. So it's like, it's easy for you to say that when you get to say other points, but every point that I say gets dunked on. So it's incredibly difficult, Dan. Playing with two hands behind my back here, man. I can't even see you. Where are you? Are you there? Are you still in LA? I don't know.
Dan left 15 minutes ago.
It's a body double. It's
Where's
Danny
Danny?
Benitez.
Billy, why are you making faces at
Well,
Tony?
because it's kind of like Welcome to the Club. I was Insecure Guillermo for 27 years on this show. Stugotz has been an idiot forever. Chris Cody's been
Thank
Fat
you.
Chris. It's just kind of how this show works, bub.
Sorry, sorry, Tony.
I know, but you know.
Billy's got a point.
Stagger, yeah. Well, of course, it's a very slow burn. But there are more people here than there have ever been, and I can't see Tony. And he's trying to get in the ninth window,
And he makes terrible points
And
constantly.
he doesn't know what a spoiler is. He spoiled Glass Onion.
Oh, please.
He did.
Oh, please.
And so whenever I know he's about to cross that line again, I say, not today, Tony, because guess what?
Why are you the
I got
arbiter of my
angry.
microphone is
I
my
got
point.
angry. Why am I what?
The arbiter of my microphone.
Because I sit in front of the soundboard. It's the only reason. You know how much I would like to not have this job and not have to turn on original sound for Mike Sure every day? It's literally the
Whitney does
geography
that,
of the
though.
Speaking
studio.
of which, it's off today.
No one's been on the show yet.
I like Tony just being like, it's just as small because of where she
it's my
sits and the
fault.
technology. Yes, of course it's your fault. It's always your fault.
I did not say that.
But Tony, to be fair, you are a habitual line stepper.
I know.
That's,
I know.
So of course you're gonna get that reputation anytime you're rushing up to the line because man, everyone's nervous about the line.
I know, but the same way as you, also habitual line stepper. Like we are akin in that where, hey, we like to run up to the line, make people a little bit nervous. Look at this. I pictured as we're both defensive linemen, right? Uh-huh. Let's say we're stand up guys at the edge, right? I like to run up to the line and get the offensive lineman to think that I'm going over, but I'm not. Just in case I get a false start, we get 5 yards. That's how I think of it.
I do like that move. I do love that move when they make the offensive line jump.
Oh, well, you love that move because I'll tell you a move I'm tired of. Mike McCarthy. We know you're not going for it. We know you
You're
want
so
to
right
just
about
get them
this.
to jump off sides.
If you went for it once, perhaps
not
maybe we'd fall for it, but we know.
You're not fooling anyone when you guys rush up to the line on 4th and short, trying to only get them to jump onside so you can offside, so you can then punt.
Such an intergalactic waste of timeouts too. Whenever, like, instead of just taking the 5 yards, I think NFL teams need to learn when to take 5 yards. 5 yards, not the end of the world. You can take a delay of game every once in a while. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is running the Chiefs offense and he can't keep 3 timeouts on the board like when they actually need them. The Chiefs always have 1 timeout left. They spend 60 minutes with 1 timeout left.
You believe that the timeout is worth more than the 5 yards? If
Yes.
you're
100%.
Patrick Mahomes?
If you're the Chiefs, I would tend to agree with that, except for this. It seems really hard to get a yard in that sport. Like they're
For the Chiefs in particular.
just for everybody. It seems if I put you, yes, that team more than most, if I put you in 3rd and 15, I'm still scared of you on defense. However, it seems like every team in the league is doing everything they can to avoid 2nd and 13.
Except that team.
It seems like almost everybody really, really fears the idea of, oh no, I've got more than 10 yards to go here. Because the timeout should be more valuable than that. That you should basically not be spending any timeouts until the very end of the game.
Yeah, but I would give direction to my quarterback. You only take a timeout if a calamity is going to befall us. If, like, worst case scenario, you just fall on the ball, it's better than losing 5 yards. It's better than losing a timeout. Like, maybe in the first half, it's not as big of a deal, but in the second half, I mean, we saw Skylar Thompson basically lose a game because they took a bunch of dumb timeouts.
Because of the play clock. I'm like, take the penalty. Take the penalty.
But you guys did notice when Josh Johnson was in the game, right, that we take for granted all the time. Because these are factories of people who have been doing this, studying it for 20 years. We, as a group, could have meetings all week, and we would not execute a play on time. We would not get to the line and execute a play on time.
I'd be lucky if Stugotz showed up for kickoff.
Stugotz would wander into the huddle in the second quarter smoking a cigarette.
We'd always have too many men on the field.
Dawson over here.
I think we can get 1 play off. Just like 1 play off.
You saw that Josh Johnson was having trouble executing the plays on time, and he's been studying it all his life. My larger point is just these corporations belch out in 25 seconds, in 30 seconds, something that can be hard to do. Getting your alignments, getting the right people on the field is a little harder, I think, than all of us understand, just because all of them tend to be good at it.
Well, and also Mike McDaniel has said, like, you know, I've got to work on this, but it seems like that offense in particular, with the amount of pre-snap motion that they use, is really difficult to get 11 people organized when you don't run it in practice every day. The drop off from even to Teddy Bridgewater for the Dolphins was enormous in getting that operation off. To Skylar Thompson, they took 4 timeouts a game trying to get plays off.
But I don't think Josh Johnson has studied anything his entire life. He's in a new offense every 3 weeks.
The opposite, Stugotz. He's studying all the time. He's
not
always,
that offense.
He's always got to catch up.
Right. I think he gets offenses mixed up. Which one am I in right now?
Do you think, just for a second, McCaffrey is looking at his wristband and being like, oh, fuck. Like, I know I've been good at football my whole life, but now I got to know what everybody's doing on every play.
You know what I just thought of with these new Netflix rules? I don't know if you guys read about them, but Netflix is changing everything now, so you can't share passwords, and you have to log into Netflix every 31 days from your home network.
Suicide.
It's stupid. Josh Johnson, he's not going to be able to have a friggin' Netflix account because this guy's traveling month to month, team to team, new place to new place. He's got 7 new home networks in a football season. He's not going to be able to keep one account. They're going to block him. This Netflix is pissing me off.
There are bills going everywhere.
Let's talk about this for a second. Netflix had a head start on everybody, and then the pandemic hit, and a bunch of people had to get creative. Apple, Disney, new revenue stream, all of television is changing. Now Jessica says that Netflix is committing suicide, and you say it's just this shared password thing? Is that, or is there something else?
No, it's absurd because Netflix has a humongous market share of people that subscribe to it in North America, and they feel like they're being cheated because if I subscribe to Netflix and I pay for 2 devices and I share it with my parents, they're losing the $15.99 that my parents should be paying them to access Netflix. So now they're trying to put in security protocols into place so that you can't share passwords anymore. And the security protocol that has been proposed is apparently every 31 days, you have to log into the Netflix account from your home network. If you travel, you can have a temporary code for up to 7 days, but someone outside of your home network can't log into Netflix. They will be blocked from it.
Wait, so this applies to the multiple device program as well?
This is all, as far as I understand it, this is all Netflix accounts. You can have 2 devices, but they have to be in the same home.
How do they know what home, like what
IP
constitutes?
Your
addresses.
IP address, yeah.
All I do is travel.
Exactly. And I've seen people like, oh, who's traveling for 31 days? I don't know.
am.
People with jobs that
Yeah.
have to travel a lot. Amin, he comes to Miami like every other weekend.
Yeah. Hey, man, like, hold on, man. Well, you know what? I'm not going to miss shit. Like, why do everyone, like, why don't we ever, like, admit that the only thing Netflix has good is its user interface? That's the only thing about Netflix that's good. The content is horrendous.
The Gouda Thomas show was very good. Highly recommend.
Dude, if Netflix went away, I wouldn't miss it. I
Have you
would not.
seen
I'm gonna
Love
get
is
rid
Blind?
of it. This is stupid. I'm pissed. On principle, I'm getting rid of Netflix. It's over.
There you go.
Whoa.
That's
I-
a lie. Cancel it right now, live on air. Take
I
a
will.
stand. Let's watch her
I'm
do
not
it.
finished with the Gouda Thomas show though.
Oh, you were bluffing.
favorite Sanrio
You were
character.
bluffing. As soon as he
As
told
soon
you
as
to
I
do it
finish
right now.
I'm out.
How are you
I'm
going to
out.
watch the Great British Bake Off?
This is
That
like
show isn't good anymore. They ruined it last season.
Whoa.
this is like Chris Cody saying he's never flying Frontier again. Except
Wait,
for this.
I
He
just
will
realized
again.
Drive to Survive.
Yes.
As soon as I finish the new
Yeah,
season of
Formula
Drive to
1 is
Survive,
on there, too.
I am out. I'm done. Goodbye.
Netflix, you saying horrendous, that's a little strong, is it not? It's just very mediocre content. There's a lot of it that isn't good, but horrendous.
If you had to pick one streamer for the content, not for the ease of the use
I
or
think
whatever.
Dan would go Apple. If that's
No,
what
I'd go HBO.
Really?
Definitely
Peacock.
HBO. Although that's changing now too. They're taking a lot of stuff down from it.
Billy, do I have it right that Peacock just recently got 1% of the audience streaming? They spent an awful lot of money to get
I
to
missed
1%.
those meetings. I don't know.
1%.
Peacock is losing a lot of money every year, but they also had a ton of new subscribers because of the World Cup this year. So they're doing better than they had projected for
no, I think
2022.
with the World Cup, they only got to 1%.
Peacock's awesome. You guys are missing out. Like,
but they
everyone
got
who's
more
not
than they
watching.
projected. Poker Face, is that what you were going to mention?
No.
They've got good original content. They have a Ryan Johnson show with Natasha Lyonne that is
I've not heard anyone
very
though.
critically acclaimed.
I've not heard any word of mouth though on a Peacock show.
I've
missing
heard
out,
a ton.
friend.
I've heard a ton. Billy talks about Peacock shows all
Love
the time.
Peacock. The trailers.
Air.
Oh, love it.
Bel Air. That's on Peacock.
I mean,
That got
like,
good word of mouth
it's
on it.
probably the best if you're a sports fan, honestly, because they have WWE, they have the Premier League, they had the World Cup. Like, they've got
The
like,
World Cup did nothing, though, you're saying.
Wait, Peacock had the World Cup?
They had
Yeah,
a,
they had the
courtesy
Spanish
of
stuff.
Spanish.
Ah.
I think the bubble that we live in that we don't realize is there's less sports fans than there are non-sports fans. So, like, saying sports is driving this doesn't really mean a whole lot.
Sports did drive their new subscribers at the end of last year. Like,
Yeah, but they had 1%, so it's not that much.
And now you're in the
right.
meeting.
That's because soccer's dead.
That's what I said. But they are
welcome.
now creating original content and they're trying to compete with Apple TV Plus
I think
and Netflix and
I think
HBO.
every major streamer recognizes the value of sports. Like, I mean, Peacock might have overspent on the Premier League because of how important it is to their business. Amazon Prime has Thursday Night Football. Apple is getting MLS. Netflix has Drive to Survive and is making tons of documentaries. These streamers recognize the value of sports.
Because it's the only thing other than Game of Thrones that people don't want to miss at its appointed time. It's the only thing that people are willing to tolerate commercials for.
But if you
want to tape a sporting event, you have to put your phone away, and people don't want to put their phones away. And so Dan is right. Like, live play-by-play, live sports is the one sacred thing that you simply don't want to tape. You can't tape it. It's nearly
Well,
impossible.
it's-
It's a huge commitment.
But Chris Rock, a lot of people will be watching. The reason I was bringing up the Louis C.K. thing is because these individual brands, the idea that Louis C.K. could have 50,000 people live stream something he's already doing at Madison Square Garden as Chris Rock decides in March, and he's holding the act now with Chappelle, they're touring, that he's going to do a live comedy special where evidently you will hear for the first time him do the material off of being slapped by Will Smith. And that will be something I imagine. I don't know. I'm not sure, Stugotz, as I see that CNN is thinking about putting Bill Maher on as a late night host, and they're going to take basically the remnants of his HBO program, the After Show, and they're going to air that with the idea, reportedly, of making Bill Maher a late night person. You've seen all of late night get turned upside down because people do not watch it the way that they used to, which is staying up till that hour.
Well, it used to be the only way to
But
watch
you
it.
get it in clips, but I wonder
Right.
if Chris Rock will be such a viral social media moment because people want to hear from him that you will see a change in the way things are programmed where more of these entities will be looking to do live stuff, messy though it can be.
I can just watch the Chris Rock part about Will Smith, though, the next day on Twitter or YouTube, and I don't have to watch like a 90-minute special to see the 4 minutes that he does on that.
But you don't find a value in being the first to something, correct?
No.
I do think that a lot of what happens in social media and what we're talking about here with sports is you don't want to be the one who's late to the party conversation. And there are very few events like that. I don't know off the top of my head as we're talking here, what are the ones you guys would say, yes, absolutely. I will stop whatever I'm doing and I will make sure to get to a television event.
Well, what day is this special even going to be
It's
on?
in March. It's the first, is it the 5th of March?
But if it's like a Friday, you think people are going to say, I'm not going to go out to see Chris Rock tonight? Like, I
Well,
don't think
let
so.
me ask you this, because I told you a couple of months ago that I did something that I used to do all the time in my childhood that I don't do at all anymore, which is stopped for a network television interview with Matthew Perry, who was going to be speaking for an hour with commercials on network television.
Little Diane Sawyer, ABC.
I don't do that
Felt great,
anymore.
right?
It felt like a different time, a bygone time, and I wasn't tuning in because I needed to hear from him in that moment. It happened to be on television. It's not like I stopped what I was doing to get to it, but it made me wonder, what are the things like that would grab all of us? That would because HBO's got some stuff. It feels like HBO is the only show that has the only network that has the power to consistently produce something that people are talking about the way they used to talk about old television. However, they used to talk about Breaking Bad or The Sopranos.
Yeah, it always feels like there's a Sunday night at 9 p.m. show, which it hardly is that anymore because it's all on HBO Max and everyone just streams it. But it feels like they always have the show where I hear about it and I know that people are watching it week to week because it's that significant. I usually don't end up watching those shows just because whatever, I don't have time for it. But like, it always seems like they're the ones that have that thing. But to answer your question, it's sort of explosive, scandalous news events, right? Matthew Perry being one, the royal family being another. There are all sorts of, those sorts of events, but it's very hard to manufacture them. It's very hard to manufacture that on a consistent basis. So really, for the most part, the only live events that drive things anymore are sports, the Oscars, and barely even the Emmys anymore.
What was the explosive Matthew Perry news that I missed?
Matthew
that
Perry, not
Matthew
Matthew
Perry.
Not the
whoever.
talented Mr. Roto.
Even less significant in my life.
I believe that we as a show have done a very poor job today in covering the seminal retirement story of the winner of our times. Basically, the clip that we have draped our analysis in is nobody around here believes that it's actually so.
Why would you?
No, absolutely not. No.
Mm-hmm.
That Tom Brady at 45 years old would retire seems to be something that is now final. I do believe him. I don't believe he would turn this into another ridiculous
final.
spectacle.
It's very not like him to just want attention.
With a movie coming out.
I don't feel like he's in the same class with LeBron and Aaron Rodgers of wanting attention.
Dan.
You do?
What? Come on, man. Yeah, how long have you been doing this?
You think he's in the same class?
100%. What? He's got a movie.
Yep.
Come on, this is not about the movie 80 for Brady.
It's absolutely about the movie.
Regardless, before we get to the winner of our time, Sara Civian is in town, Bleacher Report hockey writer, obviously for Meadowlark Media. She does the Too Many Men podcast. You should listen to it because their hockey analysis is exceptional. But she is here, and we've flown her in exclusively here. There's also an All-Star Game in hockey, just because she has officially given us the rights, Stugotz. I've been waiting for this for a long time, to now start doing trilogies.
Oh, wow.
We can actually say bad things about people when they die. She has given us. She has given.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm the ombudswoman of this, and you're allowed to do that. Thank you.
So when did this
All of a sudden, George Steinbrenner is this great guy when he passes away.
Stugotz, you going through the backlog of all the people who died?
Listen, everybody dies.
Good point.
That's a good one.
Strong
That's all I gotta
analysis.
say.
I
Just
can't
like everybody
disagree.
poops.
Follow me
Yeah.
for more expert analysis.
Except Rick Pitino.
You have given us permission. Why is it that you've given us permission to say things? Because Billy's still mad at me for doing this to Hank Goldberg. Hank Goldberg.
The hammer.
Honk.
The honker.
The honker.
The Hallmark.
You are doing this permission. You're giving us this official permission. Why?
Yes, I'm the ombudswoman of this because Bobby Hull has died. He is 84 years old.
Golden Jet.
Not a great guy. You know, I feel like it's fair to give a full analysis of his life when he dies. You know what I mean? Like, he was one of the best goal scorers of all time, but at the same time, he was charged with domestic abuse multiple times. He is on record saying that Hitler had some good ideas and doubled down on it.
Damn.
His kids don't speak to him. I don't know. I don't think you have to get on Twitter and immediately, like, be happy that somebody's died, but I don't think you have to be sad about it. I don't know.
It's our discomfort with death that makes us at the very end say a few
Why are you
nice
laughing?
I mean, he's right. Who's comfortable with it?
It's our discovery with that Stugotz roars uproarious laughter.
We don't know how to react around it.
What is the need to? You've heard me say this before. Like very early on, all of a sudden I'm reading in the Richard Nixon eulogy, open free trade to China, and I'm like, wait a minute, there were other things there that weren't quite that positive.
Pros and cons. Pros, open free trade to China. Cons.
Everything else.
I would like people to be as normal as possible when I die. Like people that I want the haters to come out and tweet bad things about me. I want it to be normal.
That's what you want. You want like Jimmy Kimmel mean tweets to happen at your
The
funeral?
roast. I need a roast.
Dude, no, but nobody wants that, right? Every like who?
Dick Heckman did that.
It just seems like such a bizarre thing to like this person who's gone. I'm gonna talk shit about them. Like it is.
Well, it
is-
also seems bizarre to leave it out
Yeah.
as part of their. You're just going to paint a nice picture of someone every time. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we're grieving. Grieving takes
So-
on many bizarre forms.
When Art Briles passes on to the underworld, right? Are we gonna say good things
Go
about him?
ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's like there's some people where yeah, man, I'm sorry. Like we're gonna talk shit.
But like you mentioned the example of George Steinbrenner. Yes, a noted cantankerous, indecisive, crazy person owner. But like most of that was for entertainment. Like
Yeah, right.
I mean, like most of that was like
He's
you know,
doing a bit?
Not he wasn't doing it for entertainment. I'm saying like the Billy Martin thing was funny. Like that in retrospect is funny.
If you're not Billy Martin,
Well, but like most people are not evil enough to where you can't like accentuate a few positives about someone before you get to their negatives.
Can we just look back at that time and apply it to now? How many times did Billy Martin manage the New York Yankees? Did George Steinbrenner fire him 4, 5, 6
I think it was
times.
4
Hold on,
times.
question.
Can you
I thought it was
imagine
5.
that now?
Question: did Billy Martin have more stints with the Yankees than Josh Johnson had stints with the Niners? That's the question.
I'd say yes.
I'd say yes,
I
too.
would, and not only would I say yes, I want you to imagine it today. Imagine the Carolina Panthers hiring Matt Rule 5 times.
I mean, they essentially did.
They totally would.
What do you mean they essentially did?
I mean,
You don't even know what your point
No,
was
yeah,
there.
no.
I mean,
he's-
Frank Reich is Matt Rule.
You're just
I
still
mean,
uncomfortable with death and laughing nervously.
But is Frank Reich not Matt Rule? That job should have went to Steve Wilkes. It went to Frank Reich. I mean, he's Matt Rule. I mean,
What are you doing?
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just saying.
You hire Matt Rule 4 times, you might as well say hello to Art Briles because you're in hell.
How many
that is
times
hell.
was Billy Martin hired and fired by the New York Yankees?
Now, there's some that are like single day stints, right? It was like sort of like fired for a
Right.
day. But his wiki page lists 5 different stints with as manager of the New York Yankees. 75 to 78, 79, 83, 85, 88.
Josh
5
Johnson,
different stints.
balls in your court.
Got to go sign for another team and then go back to the San Francisco 49ers. Just rack up the stints with the Niners.
I know that you guys spent some time talking about the histrionics of LeBron James. You possibly have read that 4 of their games recently have been decided by calls that went against them. There were 7, I think, in the last 2-minute report when the Mavericks played the Lakers. There were 7 mistakes by the officials in the last 2 minutes of that game about a month ago. What are the interesting parts of the LeBron story and that reaction that you guys have not talked about? I know Chandler Parsons enjoyed his internet moment of saying, my French bulldog could be run over by my male driver, and I would not react the way LeBron reacted to being fouled there. Patrick Beverley came over and showed the referee. Got a great technical, one of the great technicals in the history
Not a great technical.
of basketball.
Classic Pat Bev, though.
What do you mean not a great technical?
It's-
Bringing over a camera of an actual camera and holding it, showing the referee a digital photo of LeBron being fouled. That's a pretty great way to get a technical foul.
Do you think Chandler Parsons' French bulldog heard that and was like, dude, what the
Why?
fuck?
What is the matter
what's
with
wrong
you?
with you?
I thought we were cool.
No, but I said a similar, I mean, not about the dog, but I said I've seen people react to a family member passing away better than LeBron reacted to that.
You did have it first, Stugotz.
I did. I mean, he fell to his knees. He was crying.
Dan, first of all, it was a dumb technical, right? It's a dumb technical.
One of the great technicals of all time.
It's dumb. It is the epitome of bozo behavior.
It can be both.
It's entertaining, but it's like at that moment, you're going to overtime in a game that's only going to overtime because your dumbass fouled Jaylen Brown when he was wide open for a layup. When you're up 3, let him lay it up. Who cares?
It is so great that you're an anarchist about everything else, but about basketball, you're going to be the pristine holder of, Pat, you need to behave professionally in
I'm
that
just
situation.
saying, like,
I don't like this from Amin, by the way.
What?
Because he just put on his like front office cap and he's like, oh, that's a bad team foul. Like, you can't do that. Amin, let's be
horrible foul.
honest. It was one of the greatest things you've ever seen.
No.
Why?
Because here's why. Because we start overtime, said there's a technical foul. and
Aside
it should-
from that, forget about overtime,
I'm
forget
not-
about all that. I'm just talking about the grabbing of a camera and taking it to the referee and being like,
entertainment
look,
value.
I have this. That's like from wrestling.
No, yeah, exactly. It is from wrestling. You know what we like to call that kind of behavior? Look at me, Louie. There it is.
More like, look at my Nikon.
What's a camera? It's a camera sponsor that rhymes with Louis.
Look at my. Never mind.
Stop it.
Yeah, there's a story.
Look at my Fuji.
Look at my food.
We got there. We got there.
You're back.
It's gonna be so funny.
That's a redemption.